Yeah, it's good. It's good. Good photograph. Very high quality. Okay, ready?
Okay, we will continue. We're just waiting for the lights to go out, like in a real theater. Okay, and they're out. Okay, I really like this photo as well because I love the subject matter. And maybe if you look at the quality of how it's produced, you might guess who's behind this. I love medieval castles. This one's beautifully positioned here on a little mini island with the mist coming through the mountains. Wonderful texture here in the mountains, the clouds here. Beautiful foreground. And there's just one tiny little bit that I think that this author should. I'm not so much for cloning things out, but this little thing here, well, I would, it's not big. Clone it out. It's going to be a lot better. It's a beautiful photograph. It's got a very orangey sheen on my screen, but I know that it's natural. It's not a color filter put over it. And it does, as I said, it does bring you in the mood. It almost brings me in the mood. Oh, I want to go there. If I think for myself again, then I say, no, that's way too much up north. I'm not going there. I'm sorry. But it's a very pretty photograph. And this one is, again, it proves the point that you don't need a medieval castle because this is an absolutely uninteresting little building. But in this photograph with the light, the red roof, which is actually an ugly roof, comes out pretty. I think, oh, what a lovely little cottage. I want to go there. I want to see what it is. And of course, it's because it's winter. We can see snow here. The mountains in the background are just amazing. And the light is this very unique quality of warm light in winter in the more northern regions where you get amazing colors naturally without having to push things or anything in post-production. There's a bit of shade in the foreground, which helps bring out everything in the background. Yeah, it's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I think that I really like this photograph. Some people might think that it's cluttered. It's not the photograph that's cluttered, it's the subject that's really busy. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's been put in black and white, because you can get the textures out more and you get rid of the possible disturbing colors in some of the elements, because not everything is old and ancient and rusted. I guess. I think you could have cropped it down square and lose a part on either side of the photo to make it feel less cluttered. The interesting thing here is that you have the black smoke here and the white smoke here and a little bit here, so that it really works. You got the shadows of the element. I like this photo. It's really well done. And a good choice for black and white, I think, in this one. And then finally, I was expecting more of this subject, boats on the beach. It's not because it's not the most original subject. It doesn't mean you can make amazing photos of it. And this really proves it. And I'm sorry for repeating myself, but a very long depth of field. You got the footprints in the foreground. The hills are still perfectly sharp. You got the rhythm of the boats, leading lines with the waves, the boats. The little tower here, I think this is a Cabo de Gata, I guess. And an interesting sky. So really beautiful photo. And beautiful colors, obviously. So I don't think it's a surprise that Ashton was the author of these photos. He's absolutely brilliant with landscapes. And this one, I think a lot of us have seen already on Facebook, so we know who it is. But it doesn't mean that I can't say again that it's all in the execution here. You got the beautiful texture of the cut off corn here and the hay bales that are two very present elements in the photograph. Aurora Borealis, the starry sky. And I think the good thing is here that you got a repetition of the hay bales that are a lot further away from the lens that give an extra rhythm to the landscape. You got the leading lines, the two elements, the sky, but the fact that you got these elements in the background bring the photo to life for me. And well, what can you say about this? Very well executed again, very classical, but the colors make it. You know, it's the beautiful soft tones of the morning or the evening sun. The lighthouse. I do like lighthouses, so okay, good. But you got the texture in the foreground, a little bit of milkiness in the water from a longer shutter speed, but still enough detail to have the reflection and the color reflection here. So yeah, absolutely great, I think. And this one, yeah, I really love this one because it's an interesting subject. It's a pier with some, I don't know if it's a casino, but you know, a very interesting building with all the lights on there. And you got the big line here with the lights on the pier and the construction of the pier. But then in the reflection, the lights start dancing a little bit, which I absolutely love. And there's the rock in the background that has a beautiful texture and enough detail in it. So what can you say? This is really great. This is absolutely lovely. And well, I can just repeat everything I've said before here. Interesting um, subject here. I think it's because of going stooping down lower, you lose the possible effect of having more modern buildings in the background, which I think you would have if you would be up a little bit higher. And it's the sky and the reflection in the sea that make it. I would have cropped out this, cloned out this little bit here. Um, I'm sorry. And well, I think we all knew that this was Trevor. So Trevor, well, signature photos from you as usual, very, very well executed and very beautiful colors. So thank you. And this one is, this is funny because when it first appeared on my screen, I saw the colors first and I thought, oh, this is Belgium. And then I saw, oh no, this is not Belgium. There's palm trees. There's people doing the washing there. They don't look very Belgian to me. I'm sorry, but this is just a really cool photograph. But I think that if you crop in like this and make it a square crop again, it would be a lot more interesting. You would have a lot more of the action of the wind blowing through the clothes on the line. You would see the people better. You still see its palm trees. I think this is more exciting for me, and it still is Landscape Plus for me, than this crop. With this crop, I think you don't need the people and the washing. It, you know, it's very subjective, but that's my feeling about this particular image. And this one is really well done. I think it is a seascape. It's very flat, so letterbox, obviously. And once again, it's just not about making sure there's a person in it. The person has to be dressed or doing something that makes the photo pop. And I think the fact that we have the red here in the trousers and the blouse of the lady really pops it out of the photograph. That's very blue and muted and very calm and peaceful. And you've got the little bit here with the rocks with an interesting texture. And to make it work completely for me, you got this little element here, which is, it really helps the photo. If you would leave it out, it would be less interesting, because now you got a 1, 2, 3 in the composition that for me really works. And this one is very similar, with a different effect, because here the clothes of the people are actually blending in with the overall color scheme of the photograph. So you can try that as well. The only thing that I find a bit disappointing here, but I know it's very difficult, is that the white buildings are slightly overexposed. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because its composition is really good. The colors are really lovely. And I know it's very difficult to get enough detail in the houses without them being over lined out and over present. But a really great photo as well, this one. And the last one is from this author is something entirely different color scheme. You got the bridge here as the and the little boat as the human element. But once again, I think I've made a different crop. I think if you crop it like this, you lose the boat, but it has more tension for me. I think in the original one, this entire part of the photo doesn't really add to the emotion or to the information that you need here. So I think just this is strong enough to work with. But I think it's a very good, well, we can't call it set anymore, but for very interesting photos and quite different. So Joran, thank you very, very much. Really great. And we're in black and white. And with this particular photo, I really wonder if it's necessary to put it in black and white. I do get the idea that in monochrome, you get a lot more effect of the rays of light coming through, the repetition of the fence and the shadows. And it becomes very high contrasty at the sides. But I think in color, you would have the climbing ivy here on the tree more interesting than it is now. But that's personal, as I said. But it's a very interesting subject. It's something we haven't seen yet. I like it. It's very interesting. You've got all the lovely textures, but I think in color, it might have been more romantic, at least. That's maybe the right word here. And the same goes for this photo. I'm really curious to see the color version. I think I did actually, very shortly. Here the rays of light really make the photograph, and the leading line of this fence that you got here in the road. So the composition, the framing is absolutely spot on. But I really think you can do a lot with the original colors in post-production to make it more autumny, romantic, without making it surreal or unnatural, I think. So I think I would have preferred that. But it's a really great photograph, absolutely. And something different again, the windmills, I think just across the border in Holland or somewhere in Holland, and a boat on the river, and more modern buildings in the back, which I think is interesting because it takes it away from the picture postcards I knew very well when we were little, because Holland were windmills, period, and cheese, and that was it. I'm sorry. But I did something funny with it. I took the boat out. Now you got movement in the water that shouldn't be there, but I think for me, without the boat, it's softer. It's more, yeah, it works better for me without the boat. I can imagine that a lot of people think that this makes the photo a little bit more dynamic, more real life. But I think that the shape of the mills and the clouds and the water is actually already enough for the photograph. But it's subjective as always. And here we got the windmills again, a very interesting sky. The what do you call that, reed here, and the water. So very well done to go down very low to have the vegetation as the middle part, bringing out the windmills a lot better. But you got distortion here, digital distortion in the corners, left and right top corner, which I think is really a shame because it's a really lovely photograph. And those were Marlene. So thank you, Marlene. Very well done. And we stay in black and white. And I think that in this photograph, it's the clouds that really make it. Everything here is man-made, even though they use trees and grass and everything. So it's more of a, I can't call it a cityscape, but it's a parkscape or whatever. And I think the leading lines work here. It's a completely different take than what we've seen this far. It does work in a way. I think the black and white really works for this particular one, because I think that in color the buildings would be too distracting, even if they're beige or, they won't be as interesting. And this one is, I found it very weird at the beginning. I think it's almost surrealism without using melting watches or elephants on very long legs. I don't know what to think or feel with this photograph, and I think it's because of the facial expression here that it's really weird. You don't know what this girl is thinking, doing, and it's very nicely positioned because you've got the shadows in the road here and then the trees, but the photographer chose for this portrait effect. So the surrealism here works for me, but I think still that the entire bottom part here doesn't really add anything to the photo. I think that something like, oh God, I can't get it right, but I hope you get the idea that this is the action of the photo, that the composition, the textures, the surreal feel here works. And we got a similar effect here. It does remind me of certain paintings of the surreal period of the Chirico, for instance, with the cypresses and a road and just a little person here, making it quite intriguing. But I think, again, here the sky is very blurry and noisy, and you can take that out in post-production. So I would be tempted to do that because, as you see when I zoom in, that the texture in the trees and the rhythms and the person here is actually quite intriguing. And the same goes here. It's a little bit too blurry, too much JPEG distortion. But the composition is very interesting. It's the sky, the sea, you got the waves here, just two people walking, and then the diagonals of the tire tracks here, black and white, to take away all the other distractions. Graphically very strong, but it should have been sharper for full effect, I think. And those were Pedro's photos, so thank you, Pedro. And this one is absolutely lovely. I think that this author should send this photo to the town hall of Garucha and say, you should use this in your tourist promotion program, because this is Garucha for me. The three boats waiting in the sea, the mountains in the background, amazing texture on the water, and the lights on the boats. It's, yeah, absolutely great composition. Even though you got the three elements, and if you zoom in closer, it loses its power. So I think that's one of the difficult things. Sometimes you have to crop in closer, sometimes you need to go wider. And in this photo, it's just perfect for me. It really, really works. I also really love the fact that you go from the purple, pink, and blues that are quite strong at the top to the beautiful, very soft yellows in the bottom. It's really, really well done. And this photo, I get the idea of the rostro. It's quite busy, but I don't really connect with the photo enough to say what works and what doesn't work. I find it a bit difficult to get it, especially in contrast with the other photos that I can immediately see what the idea was behind it. This one is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely love it. You got an amazing sky. You got the street light on. Once again, three elements: the street light, the bench with the person, and the information panel here. I really love the reflection of the light on the pavement here. Yes, absolutely gorgeous. And then once again, yeah, this is if he sends the first one off to the Garucha town hall, this should go to the Mahakar town hall for the promotional. And we got the same three boats here. You see, I love it. It's absolutely wonderful. The lights in the town give these interesting colors in the builded side, and they contrast absolutely lovely with the rest. And you can see Mojácar La Vieja here. You can spend a long, long time watching at this photo. Absolutely wonderful. And well, everybody knows that we were looking at Emilio's photos, obviously. Absolutely brilliant. And we're not in Mojácar anymore. I think this is very interesting from a funny point of view, because you have to look at photo a while before you discover the bridge here. And I think this is an exercise in different textures of the vegetation, different shades of green. A very good crop, because you got a little bit of the bluish effect of the landscape that's further away because of the mist and the damp. It's in a certain perspective, it's minimalistic because you only got the greens, and it's an exercise in textures. It's very interesting from that point of view, I think. And this one I like better because you got the buildings, and I think you got the beautiful clouds and the mountains in the background. You got the hill here with the electricity tower or the communication thing, palm tree in the foreground, and then you got these buildings. And for me, the funny thing is that I don't know why we try to paint these buildings green, as if we're going to camouflage them in the landscape, or they're going to go up in the landscape. No, the shapes never go up in the landscape, and they start rusting. So so I like the humorous effect of that. But again, I think it's a little bit of angle. So I try to get the angle right, which immediately makes you lose part of the photograph. I don't know if it works better or not. It's just, it's a different effect. And this one's my favorite of the four photographs, because you got a very interesting landscape element here, which is the waterfall and the amazing green that also is cascading down. And then you get what we do with our environment. We put things in it because we have to have a society, we have to have traffic, blah, blah, blah. And then you got this road sign, and I think it's part of a bridge or something. But even on the road signs, we put stickers, we put graffiti, and I think that's very interesting to see how we treat our environment. Now, because this is such an interesting photo, I think I am allowed to say that I would have preferred, if possible, because I don't know the circumstances there, a slower shutter speed so you could see all the detail in the water, and a higher f-stop so that the road sign would be equally sharp as this element. But it's easy for me to say from the chair here. And this one is absolutely gorgeous, I think. It once again shows that very simple elements like a bunch of shoes and Crocs and a towel are the proof that, oh, there's human activity without anything disturbing, or you still want, oh, I want to be on that beach. The waves look amazing. The island in the sea with all the green looks absolutely attractive. The beach looks lovely, untouched. And then you got this wonderful tree trunk here with all the texture. And then it's a good thing that it's a green towel. I think the green goes with the island. Could have been a red one too. It would be more a different effect, but more strong. I like the green one. If you would have a towel with a print on it, it would be absolutely not the same photograph. And here you got the draping, very interesting, pretty. So very well spotted, very well executed, I think. Maybe a little bit burnout there in the waves, but that's nitpicking again, I think. And those were, of course, Rachel's photographs. So thank you, Rachel. And this is very interesting, I think, because when you go look on the internet for tips on composition, the S-curve is one of the tips that you can get. And it's not easy to actually use it. And I think the interesting thing here is that the S-curve is clipped off at the left and the right side, because the blue should be a little bit more in here and should be a little bit more in there. But because of the closer crop, you get the repetition of this line, these lines here, that bring out the S-curve. And there are two people giving you a sense of scale in this photograph. That's, for the rest, almost an abstract blue and beige exercise, which I really, really love. I think this is a really pretty photograph and a really soft one. And this photograph, I think the overall composition is absolutely stunning, because you got the little building in the middle dragging your attention with interesting textures in the roof, the sides, everything. Then you got the repetition of the vineyards here, and then there's a lot going on in the top, but it's not disturbing until, unfortunately, you come to this point, where all of a sudden God has decided to shift the landscape a little bit, I think. So that's such a shame in such an amazing photograph. And also the colors here are really nice, really warm, really lovely. And we've seen this photograph before a long, long time ago. And I remember then that I thought, this can't be true. There is a miniature house under a large tree. But of course, it's because it's an infrared photograph and you lose the perspective, the actual perspective. So for me, this is absolutely amazing, because you get a sense of scale that doesn't exist. You got the very surreal effect of all the detail in the trees and the white foreground. And the building is interesting in itself. And I think, yeah, this is just brilliant. And it's once again a proof that it's not because the challenge is landscape that you can't do infrared or turn your photograph upside down or whatever. You can be creative in many, many ways. And this photograph is absolutely stunning. And this one's my favorite because, yeah, it's blue again. I'm sorry, I'm blue. The rays of light coming through the clouds, the texture in the clouds, and then the soft and a lot of horizontal lines here. And then the man-made element here is just this one stick put in the ground, which for me it brings me back to we put a man on the moon, and what the first thing he did was put a flag there. You know, we're all a little bit. Kilroy was here. We go somewhere and we need to change something to prove that we were there. And this is a very poetic way of expressing that, and mainly showing a very beautiful landscape. So absolutely brilliant. And those were Rob Palmer's photos. So thank you, Rob. I do hope to see more of your photos in the challenges because you always have a very interesting point of view here. And here we got lovely oranges and purples. It is the kind of landscape that we sometimes see, you know, the layers of mountains and the mist coming through. But here we got electricity poles, and they absolutely fit in the landscape. They don't bother me at all. Au contraire, they're really, it makes it interesting. I think also very interesting here is that you go from the brighter effect in this corner to an almost near black at the other corner, which is an overlay of the horizontal effect. And so I think that's very clever. It's very well seen, and it works really, really well here. And this one's absolutely lovely as well. You got the same layer effect, only a lot more minimalistic. And you got amazing colors here in the trees near the river. And here's the little boat, someone in the boat. So that's the human element here. You got a reflection of the tree. So I don't know if you zoom in, this is already a really great photograph. But I do get you could have used this as a photo itself, I think. But I do get the idea that you want the layering above it, and you got a little bit of a foreground, which helps, I think, in this particular photo. And this one is one of my favorites because you can see a city emerging like a Fata Morgana in a huge sea of blue, and you got a shallow depth of field making the foreground very close to you and out of focus, which helps you focus on the actual city in the background. Once again, as always, please check the photos again on Facebook and on the website, because the colors are really different here on the screen and on the projection. And this one I really like because it's a much more daring crop than we usually have with the orangey sunsets and sunrises. So you only have a very small line at the bottom with a silhouette of a building and the sun emerging up from the background. And the rest is all the very soft clouds going into a very large part of negative space. So yeah, that's, I think, a very interesting take on the subject. And it proves again that you can always experiment with your composition. Try portrait format, try different formats and see back at home which one works best. And I think this is a very good example here. And of course, those were Rod's photos, so no surprise that he experienced more than most of us. So Rod, thank you. Really great photos. And this is absolutely a lesson in composition, I think. We've seen the effect a few times that you have an element going to the center here, an element there. But here you got the pier and a silhouette standing on the pier in a good pose, setting off against the absolutely lovely soft tonality of the sky and the water. The colors in this photo are absolutely stunning. The texture in the sky is absolutely wonderful. And I think that the curve in the person really make it. You don't always need someone dancing, but in some photographs, the pose is either too posed, which isn't good, or too uninteresting. And here it's just the perfect balance. It's relaxed, but there's enough information there to make you want to be there, make you want to see it in real life, I think. And this one is even better for me because you got the two people holding hands. They're in silhouette. You see a little bit of detail here in the, I don't know which dot in the background, in the back of the head, and all the amazing reflections and the circles in the water going around the two people. Same as with Rod's photos, you've got almost a whole black area here, opposed to where the sun comes through the clouds in the other corner. So I think that's absolutely well spotted. It's a very stylized photo, and I really like that. It's absolutely gorgeous for me. And here we got a similar composition with a lady standing in the middle. And I think here you got, there's a lot of things here. You got the horizontal composition, so right format for that. You could make it even more letterbox, but you got all the little rocks on the beach here, making it very interesting. And lovely blues in the background. So the red of the t-shirt really pops out. And then you wonder, but why is there only one leg covered and the other one not? So I think that's the little bit of the humorous thing that we got sometimes. Why is that happening there? Well, anyway, I know the lady, so I'm going to ask her why she's only had one leg covered there. Okay. And then this one again is the pier. And this time we got the light coming on the three people. And you can see, so it's the same thing, but a completely different effect, but equally interesting, because when I zoom in, you will see that they look out of the photograph in different directions. So your eye immediately goes also out of the effect, and you're limited because it's a portrait photo, but it makes it a lot wider because the people are looking out of it. Amazing texture again here on the pier, amazing clouds, a little bit more the bluish colors that I had in my first photo, so a little bit more dubious in mood, which I really like, that it's not always, oh, sunny, happy, pretty. And I think it's also quite daring to balance the sea on the heads of these people. A lot of people would try to avoid that, but you see it really works if you do it the right way. And maybe some people already recognize Danielle's signature here. So very well done, Danielle. Thank you very much. And this brings us to the last 4 photos. And we have 4 completely different photos, and I love all 4 of them. So that's a bit difficult for me, because for my selection, as usual, I only select 1 photograph per person, max. And I had to select from my selection because I had way too many photos. But I think this is, well, right up my street. I love the menhirs and dolmen things. And I haven't had the opportunity to make photos in these amazing light conditions, with a dramatic sky, with a beautiful background, no disturbing. Because in this photograph, if you would have contemporary buildings in the background or electricity poles, I would be offended is a big word, but it wouldn't work because here the man-made things are these beautiful prehistoric rocks that have survived time. The colors are absolutely beautiful. Detail everywhere, very good, really well executed, lovely photo, absolutely. And this photo, again, absolutely wonderful. I think it's quite daring to have lines, a direction going this way. Then from this point, you got directions going that way. And then from this little building, you got all the leading lines going out again. Beautiful textures. And then you got the little skyline all over the photo and a smaller section of sky. So really good composition. You got the really, I call it ugly green. It's not an ugly photo. It's the filthy type of green that you get in the water here. Absolutely gorgeous because the color scheme is just wonderful. Really, really great photo. And this one's something entirely. So what I really appreciate is we got 4 completely different places on the planet, I think. Completely different takes on the subject. And this one, again, it works. You got a beautiful mountain scene with a lovely village that's not contemporary. So we love it already a lot more than modern buildings, usually. But it's interesting because you got a clock tower, you got a rounded tower here, which is probably a church or something. You got the curve of the bridge, the light coming through, the water, a lot of elements, but still a very good composition because you got more or less a diagonal coming down here. I hope you can see that. I hope I'm not moving too fast. So absolutely great. And then this one is absolutely wonderful. This is, well, you could say it's a landscape photograph. There's no human element. But if you can see, there's little footsteps here. So yes, there is a human element. It's the most minimalistic human element, I think, in the photographs. But, well, you cannot love this photo. Not love this photo. That's what I wanted to say. Textures amazing, colors amazing, absolutely wonderfully executed. I absolutely love it. And so those were all the photographs. So I'm just going to show you very quickly the selection I've made. It's never perfect, the selection, because those were Jean's photos. I'm sorry, Jean. Excuse me. I'm so used to having seen them. So Jean, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to show you my selection. It's not perfect. There's a lot of photos that could have been in there. So I chose Ashton's red roof photo because I think it's an amazing landscape photo. It proves that a very simple element that's considered ugly can be the highlight of a photo. Danielle's photo because, yeah, absolutely atmospheric, moody. It makes you dream. It makes you wonder. It takes your ideas to far off places. It's absolutely gorgeous light. Absolutely wonderful. Dave's photos of the blue elements on the beach because I absolutely love the colors and the composition. Alan's photo, this is a Christmas card for me. I love it. I usually don't like Christmas cards, but this is one I would send, I'm sure. Emilio's Garucha boats. Yeah. Stunning. Absolutely. And Janet's boat track in the mountains. And finally, no, not finally, because they're alphabetically again, I think Jean's photo and Rob's photo of the pole on the beach and Vivian's photo because absolutely lovely. And that was it. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see each other again, hopefully on the 20th, I think, for Rachel's presentations, if I'm right. Yes. And then next month, I'll repeat it again. It's the 10th instead of the first Sunday, it's going to be the second Sunday. I'll put it on the website. And don't forget, of course, the exhibition. So thank you. And I will leave the word back to Emilio to close the meeting down.
Nope, close it. Nothing else?
Yeah.
Okay, I repeat just to everybody for the list of the exhibitors for the exhibition. Please send your name or post your name in Facebook or by email to info@veraphotoclub.org as soon as possible. And anything else for your part? Okay, thank you very much to all. See you next 20th now with Rachel.
Thanks, Emilio, and thanks
Okay.
to Frank for a great critique.
Yes, thank you very much to all. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.